Imagine a dog so broken he wouldn't lift his head, so terrified he shook violently at human touch. This was Shadow, a German shepherd found abandoned on a foreclosed property, his collar embedded in his neck from years of neglect. Shelter workers feared he was beyond saving, until one woman sat quietly outside his kennel and changed everything. What unfolded wasn't just a rescue story, but a miraculous chain of events that would heal 3 shattered lives in ways no one could have predicted. The Riverside County Animal Shelter in July 2021 was overwhelmed beyond capacity. Pandemic pet surrenders had flooded the facility, and Director Marlene Gutierrez faced impossible choices daily. When Animal Control Officer Luis Vasquez arrived with an emaciated German shepherd, the staff's hearts sank. The dog, later named Shadow, was in horrific condition, severely underweight with a collar grown into his flesh, covered in sores, and trembling uncontrollably. Veterinarian Dr. Caitlin Chen documented his extensive injuries, but worried most about his psychological state. Unlike typical rescue dogs who eventually seek human comfort, Shadow remained frozen in terror, pressing himself into the farthest corner of his kennel. Behavioral specialist Kelsey Martinez tried for weeks to connect with him, but Shadow seemed to have completely given up on humans. As his scheduled euthanasia date approached, the staff had nearly lost hope, until an unexpected visitor arrived. Claire Winslow hadn't planned to adopt a dog when she visited the shelter to donate old towels. The physical therapist was still rebuilding her life after divorce and worked long hours at Eisenhower Medical Center. But something drew her to the back kennels where the unadoptable dogs were kept. There she saw Shadow, not barking or begging like the others, but silently watching the world with haunted amber eyes. Instead of approaching him directly, Claire did something radical. She sat 6 feet from his kennel, angled her body sideways to appear less threatening, and began reading her novel aloud in a calm monotone. For 47 minutes, nothing happened. Then Shadow's ear twitched. Then he lifted his head. Shelter staff watched in stunned silence as the dog who had refused all human contact for weeks slowly inched forward, drawn by Claire's quiet presence in a way no one could explain. Meanwhile, at a modest ranch house in La Quinta, Captain Jordan Hayes struggled with his own demons. The veteran suffered from severe PTSD after an IED explosion in Afghanistan that left him with traumatic brain injury and 60% burns. His VA physical therapist had recently quit, frustrated by Jordan's refusal to engage in treatment. When Claire took over his case, she noticed odd details. A framed photo of a German shepherd in military gear on his nightstand. Jordan's unconscious reach toward his left thigh, where a dog would normally heal. During one particularly bad night terror, Jordan cried out, "Shadow! Find cover!" The same name as the shelter dog Claire had been visiting. As she helped calm him, Jordan revealed the heartbreaking truth. Shadow had been his military working dog in Afghanistan, lost during the same explosion that injured Jordan. He'd been told Shadow died in the blast, but Claire's description of the shelter dog matched perfectly, right down to the distinctive scar on the right shoulder from an earlier mission. The possibility that Shadow might be alive after all these years left Jordan shaking. But could it really be the same dog? The shelter staff prepared carefully for what might be the most emotional reunion of their careers. They moved Shadow to a neutral meeting room, had Jordan wear his old deployment shirt for familiar scent, and briefed everyone on military command protocols. When Jordan entered the room and gave the crisp order, "K9 report," as what happened next stunned everyone present. Shadow, who had spent months too terrified to approach anyone, snapped to perfect attention, ears up and tail rigid just like his training days. He performed a tactical sweep of the room before pressing his forehead to Jordan's knee in their old all-clear signal. Veterinarians would later confirm this wasn't just emotional, It was physiological. Shadow's muscle memory from military training overrode his trauma responses, while both dog and human experienced massive oxytocin releases. Jordan, who had refused to leave his wheelchair for months, found himself kneeling to embrace his long-lost partner as the shelter staff wept. In that moment, two broken warriors found each other again against all odds. News of the miraculous reunion spread like wildfire. The local paper's front-page story led to national media coverage, including features on Good Morning America and The Dodo. But more importantly, it sparked a movement. Inspired viewers flooded shelters asking for unadoptable dogs. Veterans began inquiring about service dog programs, and donations poured in. Soon, Operation Shadow was born, a community effort that provided Jordan's home with donated fencing, lifetime pet food sponsorship, and eventually a pilot VA program pairing shelter dogs with veterans. Shadow himself became a therapy dog, visiting VA hospitals and helping socialize other traumatized shelter dogs. His Instagram account, #ShadowStrong, documented his new life and eventually his battle with lymphoma, a fight he approached with the same courage he'd shown in Afghanistan in the shelter. When Shadow finally passed surrounded by love, his legacy continued through the Shadow Fund for retired military dogs, an annual Shadows Run fundraiser, and a children's book about his journey. As Jordan and Shadow healed together, another beautiful relationship blossomed. Claire found herself spending more time at Jordan's home than her professional duties required. Their shared care for Shadow became long talks over coffee, then dinner dates where Shadow would rest his head on both their laps. On their one-year adoptiversary, Jordan proposed in the shelter where they'd reunited, with Shadow delivering the ring attached to his harness. The shelter staff, who had once wept over Shadow's euthanasia paperwork, now cried happy tears at his human's wedding. Today, the couple runs a nonprofit helping veterans and rescue dogs find each other, proving that sometimes the most broken among us have the most love to give. As Jordan often says, Shadow saved me twice, first in war, then after it, and he led me to the woman who would help us both heal. From a filthy foreclosure property to national hero, from broken warriors to healed hearts, Shadow's journey reminds us that no creature is beyond redemption, no bond too damaged to repair, and no love story ever truly over. His legacy lives on in every veteran who finds hope through a rescue dog, in every unadoptable pet given a second chance, and in the quiet moments when we choose to sit patiently with someone else's pain, just as Claire did outside that kennel so long ago. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales like this. Until next time, take care.